Welcome to Across the Globe. Today we will learn about using WTForms for validation. WTForms is a Python library utilized in web development frameworks like Flask for form validation and rendering. It ensures user input adheres to specified requirements and is in the correct structure. For instance, it can guarantee email addresses are in a valid format before submission in a registration form. When working with WTForms in Flask, it is essential to import essential classes like Flask form, string field, password field, submit field, and validators such as data required from the WTForms library. For instance, to create a simple login form using WTForms in Flask, you can define a login form class that inherits from Flask form. Inside this class, you can specify fields like username and password using string field and password field respectively. These fields can be validated using data required from validators. Finally, a submit field can be added for form submission. By setting up the form in this manner, you can ensure that user input is validated as per the defined rules, enhancing security and reliability in your Flask applications. Validators are used to enforce specific conditions on user input in a form. They help ensure that data entered meets predefined criteria. In the given example, the email validator from WTForms in Flask is added to the email field of a registration form. This ensures that the input in the email field conforms to a valid email format. By including validators like email in a form field, you can prompt users to enter data that adheres to the required format or rules. This helps in maintaining data integrity and user experience. For instance, in a registration form, email validation ensures that users input a correctly formatted email address, such as example@email.com. If a user enters an invalid email format like example.com, the validator will prompt them to correct the input. Validators are an integral part of form validation processes, aiding in error prevention and enhancing the overall quality of user-submitted data. When building a web application with Flask and WTForms, you can utilize the form.validateOnSubmit method within your Flask route to verify the validity of the form data submitted by a user. This method will automatically trigger form validation and return true if the data is valid. In the provided example, a Flask route/login is defined for handling user login functionality. Upon receiving a GET request, an instance of the login form class, presumably a WT form, is created and passed into the template rendering function for displaying a login form. When a POST request is received, i.e. form submission, the validateOnSubmit method is called on the form object. If the form data is valid according to the form's validation rules, the conditional block executes the login functionality, such as authenticating the user, and returns a success message. Otherwise, if the form data is invalid, the user is presented with the login form again for corrections. Ensuring form data validity with form.validateOnSubmit streamlines the process of handling user inputs and enhances the overall user experience by providing immediate feedback on the data entered into the form. Using WTForms for validation is like having a bouncer at a club checking IDs to make sure only legal adults are allowed entry. Just like the bouncer verifies the age of patrons, WTForms verifies the data inputted by users in a form to ensure it meets certain criteria. If the data doesn't pass the validation check, just like a fake ID wouldn't pass the bouncer's inspection, an error message is displayed to the user indicating what needs to be corrected. By using WTForms for validation, you can prevent unauthorized or incorrect data from being processed, similar to how a bouncer prevents underage individuals from entering a club. Hey Code Conquerors, ready to level up? With TechLearn ATG, showcase your skills with official course certificates. Just visit our site and start. Need that extra boost? Get tailored learning, 24/7 support, and expert guidance. Coding smarter, growing faster, and making learning fun. Go to our website across the globe, www.atg.world. The code snippet demonstrates the implementation of WTForms for validation in a Flask application to check the age of users. Firstly, the necessary libraries are imported, Flask and WTForms. A form class named AgeForm is created with an integer field for users to input their age. The form includes validators to ensure the input is required. The Flask route/ is defined to handle both GET and POST requests. Upon submitting the form, if the input is valid and the age is 18 or above, a success message is displayed. Otherwise, an error message prompts the user to correct the input. The HTML template form.html is used to display the age verification form. It includes the age input field, error handling for invalid input, and a submit button. When the Flask application is executed, Python app.py, the server runs locally, accessing HTTP 1.0.5000. In a browser, allows users to interact with the age verification form. In practical scenarios, this setup can be beneficial for age-restricted websites, services, or applications that require user age verification to comply with legal regulations or set age restrictions. One industrial application where WTForms for validation can be beneficial is in e-commerce platforms during the checkout process. By utilizing WTForms for validation, online retailers can ensure that the information provided by the customers, such as shipping address, payment details, and contact information, meets the required criteria before proceeding with the order placement. This helps in minimizing errors, enhancing user experience, and reducing the chances of incomplete or incorrect orders. Another real-world example where WTForms for validation is crucial is in the healthcare industry for patient registration forms. When patients fill out their personal and medical information, using WTForms for validation can ensure that the data entered is accurate and in the correct format. Validating fields such as insurance ID, date of birth, medical history, and contact details can help healthcare providers maintain accurate records, streamline administrative processes, and improve the overall quality of patient care. Across the globe, industries and applications ranging from e-commerce to healthcare leverage the power of WTForms for validation to enhance data accuracy, user experience, and operational efficiency. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next video.